Welcome all you +2 comedy modifiers back to the stream. Welcome back to the empty black void, and welcome back to Solving the Witness. This is an laid-back, annotated Let's Play where we try to discover the underlying secrets of the witness. I realized I wore a black shirt today and I was just a floating head, so I grabbed the nearest shirt and it's a V-neck, so now I look weird. And I will continue to look weird as we head to the town. Yes, we've activated all the lasers except for the town. So we're going to head there now, and there's a lot of stuff we got to talk about when it comes to the town. And we're going to start with analysis rather than solving stuff. And usually I leave that to Editor Noah, but I got some stuff to say now. First off, this is very clear. I know a lot of the environmental puzzles in this area involve looking up at this thing, so let's just get ahead and knock these guys out very quick. Ooh, up. There we go. Fits together very nicely. Come together right now over me. It's very fitting. Oops, not perfect. Did the sun do a weird thing? Yo! Clicking the environmental puzzle here dims the sun. Like, it turns the sun, like, almost entirely down. And then when I stop, then it becomes bright again. Editor Noah popping in here. I couldn't help but notice that when you do the environmental puzzle, the sun actually dims. This kind of goes along with what we were saying before about the lasers disappearing. Now, this could perhaps suggest that you're reaching a level of focus that makes kind of like other peripheral things kind of fade away from your point of view. Kind of like when you stare at something right in front of your face, everything else becomes blurry. It requires a certain amount of focus to do an environmental puzzle, and what that affects to your eyes make you kind of see other lights as like a blind spot. So that's my in-universe reason. The gameplay reason, of course, would be that there's some sort of environmental puzzle that requires the sun to be a perfectly round ball. Like that would ever happen. We'll get there. It's going to be in a long, long time from now, but we'll get there. That's weird. That is very strange. Oh, what's your deal? What's your problem? Quit being an issue. Line up for me. There you go. Blam. And then I think there might be one more right here. See how easy that one was? Why did you have to be difficult? One over there. Alright, so we're going to deal with all this fun stuff of the town very soon. But I want to take a look at this windmill. Because I've done some research regarding the windmill that I want to bring up right now. One is, actually I have to kind of run around. Okay. You can jump that, dude. Let me take the steps. Lake's looking more and more complete. One is the thing that we had talked about kind of in depth last time, is when I was over here, I had completed the orchard, which is an area that does not have a laser, which is very, very suspicious. And we kind of looked in here, we didn't find anything. But on the other side of the windmill, it almost looks like you shouldn't even be able to step up. Those are steps. That looks like wall, though, and you can walk right up it. Kind of interesting. Oh, I didn't even think about shadows. Maybe shadows are important. Hmm. Uh, we talked about these flowers and how, like, they're very oddly in an X, and how this one in particular, I think this one has like a red hue to it. And we found the one flower in the, uh, what's that area called? Not the quarry, the bog, that has been dyed red. And then there's a slightly red flower here. So I'm wondering if this, or actually it's more of this flower here. You can kind of see this one's red. I wonder if that is representational of the flower that we found in the other part of the game. No, I'm not talking about the flowers again. We've talked about the flowers too many times. I will say this, though. You may have picked up on this already, but I do want to clarify this. This actual stream took place before the previous episode of Solving the Witness that came out. I actually thought this was a lost episode. I thought this stream got corrupted and I didn't have it, but I was able to recover it. So this actually does take place earlier in the timeline, and these have been recorded a while ago because it takes me a long time to do the research and the recording and the editing, so there's a big gap in time here, and I apologize for that, but I did want to clarify that in the actual timeline of these streams, this is before the previous episode that just came out. I just thought I lost this footage. So that's a theory that I'm kind of working with. A lot of people, and myself included, think that the big mystery has something to do with this windmill. The windmill is in like all the advertising for the game. The windmill like is always front and center in the logo. Like there's something going on with this freaking windmill. The other thing, and I made this mistake. When we came in here, I kept saying doing this rotates it the other way. It doesn't. It turns it off, but you'll see it does in fact light up this cable, which means it does something. But we can't, like, that's not an area we actually go to. The other thing, I'm going to have to turn up my game for this, is, maybe, here we go, I'm turning my game up. So sorry if there's an echo of gameplay. Apparently there is a way you can stop the windmill that it makes a very satisfying click. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to look out this window. All right, let's listen. Okay. So few things. It sounds like I heard a click. I feel like I made an X. The broken one is like almost looks like it's a finger pointing somewhere. It's kind of interesting. I never noticed this. This almost looks like a person. Like I wonder if there's a way I can do perspective that would give that a head. Like, can I get up on these rocks? But I talked about those weird vines, and there's all those images of the red vines around like someone's face. And I said that that actually is an accurate description of what our veins look like in our head. But I don't know. So I definitely heard like a satisfying click. The question is, I'm gonna follow that like it's pointing, like I said. I'm going to then start it again and pause it again and see if I get that satisfying click in a different position. And it's pointing to an area I cannot actually get to. Let me look at it from... We're going to run back over here. I swear we'll also solve stuff today. But I've been thinking a lot about the windmill. anything interesting looking in? Like, you can hear it's on. Unless I'm hearing a laser, which I don't think I am. Yeah, I hear when I get close to the windmill. Something's being powered. Looked like it was pointing at this rock. Doesn't seem to be anything interesting about this rock. It's inaccessible to me to step on. There's all these trees in the way. I don't know. Just trying to get a really good idea about what's going on with this. Something here. Anyway, getting back to the thorns. We were talking about this, yeah. So this is another thing I noticed. I think I'm going a bit out of bounds here, but I do want to bring it up. Maybe it's because I've been playing Inscription. But this heart, if you look at the top of it, it is correct. This is what a heart looks like. But it reminded me of something, and it was bothering me. And I realized it kind of looks like a castle. And again, this is how a heart looks, so it's a little strange for me to be like, this is a reference to the castle. But compare it to the castle from Braid that actually does appear in this game. It almost looks like that's the castle that's been plucked and placed on top of this heart. And again, I've been playing Inscription, and there's a lot of references and things that you solve by going back to previous games that the creator has made. And I think everyone very quickly writes off the Braid Sandcastle as a random Easter egg. I don't think this is anything that anyone's ever really chased or tried to really tie together. Perhaps there is more of a link between Braid and the Witness. Like, its appearance here would mean that someone went to the island aware of Braid in some way and built this sandcastle. So, what could that mean? Another interpretation, I guess, could be that someone made this sandcastle and then it inspired Braid, if the Witness comes first in the timeline of the Jonathan Bloniverse trademark. But I know it's so easy to write this off as an Easter egg, and I played Braid a really long time ago, probably like a decade ago. I feel like I want to go back to Braid and see if I can make any connections to the Witness. Perhaps there is a through line or just something more to bring these things together, but I pose it to you as someone who may have played Braid more recently than me. Do you think there's more of a tie between these two, or is it just a random Easter egg? And does this heart look like the Braid Castle? These things that kind of look like veins, you get it on the lungs, you can see it on this guy's face. This thing seems to have an eye. This is very, like, almost, it feels almost Cthulhian, Lovecraftian. So I want to take a moment to talk about this eye creature, which I find very upsetting. It doesn't seem to make sense with all the rest of the drawings. The rest of the drawings all seem to be about, you know, internal organs, but they have like something over top of it. And I'm guessing this is the thing that's over top of it. I've tried to find something that was a monster, basically, with a big eye and tentacles. So, of course, this is Starro, who will actually be appearing in the new Doctor Strange movie. I'm kidding, but it wasn't like a flood of my search results when I tried to do research on this. There isn't a lot that was really concrete about an eye with tentacles, though apparently there are some quotes in Mormonism about the Eye of Providence having tentacles. The Eye of Providence is supposed to be the eye of God that watches over us, and the tentacles of the Eye of Providence is something that gathers wandering children that are straying from the faith and bring them back in. Don't think that's what's being talked about here, but it is something that came up in my research. To me, eye implies, like it having an eye, implies some sort of consciousness so that it knows what it's doing. And this seems to be a disease that is attacking the organs. So to me, this seems to imply or be symbolic of a maliciousness of disease. It is very easy and common to characterize disease as this kind of evil, malicious, maniacal force, something that is evil, I guess it's a good word for it. It's something that knowingly is destroying the human body, when in actuality it is not. It's not, killing people out of spite. It's just what it does. So to see something that looks like it is representing whatever is taking over the organs, given an eye, kind of giving it an idea that it is intelligent, is something very interesting. And there is a quote that there is nothing more infectious and dangerous than an idea. So I have the thought that the symbolism of this area is the idea that an idea can take over your body and kind of taint you. As we talked about the different types of the 6 principles of the witness, one of them is that you are blind by your own preconceptions of things. So if, I know this is a stretch, but this is kind of where I'm going with this. If the disease or this weird black thing that's taking over the body in all of these drawings is representing of a disease, and that disease is an idea, you're basically being infected with an idea that is kind of blinding you from the truth because you are so consumed by this one idea you already have, so you can't see what's actually there. I've been trying really hard to solve this area, and I don't have any answers for this area. And the thing with an eyeball is just so weird to me. I just don't understand what it could possibly mean. So this is my best guess as of right now, is that it is meant to be an intelligent infection. So either the idea of a disease that is smart, or an idea that is taking over your body and harming you and playing into that one principle of the witness. Yeah. This, I just realized, looks like a puzzle. It's not doable, but it looks like the puzzles I just did. Or not that I just did, the ones from this area. That's interesting. I'm glad I came back here and looked at this with fresh eyes. The fact that I can't do this is very interesting. Maybe because it didn't occur naturally. You know what? That's another quick theory here. There's a drawing of the river on the top of the mountain that you can't do that. Like, it doesn't work as a panel, but the river works. So maybe this is saying that, like, puzzles that are drawn don't actually count. Like, ink and paper just don't count. Yet here it is being drawn. Interesting. So I want to jump in and say this. The idea that there are no drawn environmental puzzles. I said earlier that there was an idea that part of the shrine was purposely destroyed in order to create an environmental puzzle, and that there may be a reason to invent an environmental puzzle to either strengthen the lock that is the monolith or to give more power to the monolith. I'm going to now basically venture the opposite idea and say that the environmental puzzles happen naturally and coincidentally. They're never intentionally created. They are just things that sort of happen. It's hard to believe that completely since a lot of them are man-made. They're made of pipes, they're made of a tractor, they're made of parts of the ship and things like that. But you could argue that nature is playing some sort of role in most of them. The tractor's the one I can't really defeat, which is why it bothers me so much. But there's one that requires a very strange perspective and uses a lot of parts. The one that starts on the quarry's chimney, and then there's like some pipes. But you could say that the trees around it are holding up parts of the pipe and thus creating the environmental puzzle through coincidence. So all of this is being said to say there is the possibility that man cannot actively create an environmental puzzle. And I'm trying to find an example of a time where it's very clear that man invented the environmental puzzle and not something that can be written away as, no, they just happened to build something that had a circle and a line connected to it, so it became an environmental puzzle without them realizing it. The idea of them actually drawing it out and just having it there to be created for an environmental puzzle, for that being its sole reason, it's debatable. I also want to correct myself in that I say that there's a panel that you can't complete where you draw, but it matches an environmental puzzle of the river. You can complete that panel, it just doesn't do anything. I don't think it even counts in the puzzle listings. So you can interact with it and you can like complete it, but it doesn't have any cables attached to it, so it doesn't do anything. So I just also wanted to correct that. Anyway, I wanted to look at the windmill from this side. You can hear it. Okay, so for science, we are now going to go back and restart the windmill. It's making a difference. Why can't I say that word right now? Opolis. I don't think it's the laser, because I'm right into the laser here. And I hear a sound, but it's a different sound. Yeah, it's totally a different sound. Alright, so we will restart the windmill. Okay, I was just wondering if I got it wrong, if it would shut it off, but no, that's not the case. That's interesting. What is being reflected? Because there's a reflection in this screen. And I mentioned this in a past video like a while ago, that like this is the closest to what looks like a television. But there's a reflection. What is that? It's a dot, and then there's like a zigzag, and then there's another dot. Is there anything that looks like that behind me? Okay, windmill is fully moving now. It's also interesting that there's a way to see the windmill move while inside. Like, almost like that's purposeful. And now that that's moving, has the reflection changed? No, what is that? What is reflected in the screen? Yo, what is that? Hi, I'm 90% sure that the reflection I'm freaking out about is the top of the windmill. Not the windows, but the very top of the windmill. It's the part that is holding the center. If you really squint, you can kind of see that that's what it is. You can easily make it look like it's a bunch of dots that are trying to see something, but with the power of retrospect, I'm pretty sure it's just the top of the windmill. I also want to shout out to all the commenters that were talking about my window theory, which was nonsense, because I said that there's no point to the windows in the windmill, and it's very simple. There would be no light in the windmill without windows, so you had to let the sunshine in so that you could see when you're in there. Very simple solution to a question I made too complicated. Thank you for commenting. Huh. Alright, so we're going to stop it again. Hopefully I'll stop it at a different angle. I'll run outside and listen for the click again. Slowing down. It's definitely going to be in a different position than it was last time. Another good point that was made by my commenters, that I do want to throw out here. You can see the stripes that I talked about on the back of the windmill that spelled dork. You can see them on the front, and they're there to create an environmental puzzle. So that's probably the real solution to this, is the stripes are there or not there to create the proper environmental puzzle. As fun as the Morse code thing was, this is the clearer Occam's razor version of the answer to why those stripes are there. So thank you to everyone for pointing that out, because I didn't really pay attention to it. This would again kind of fall back to what I was saying, in that perhaps the nature itself destroyed the windmill, and thus created this environmental puzzle through coincidence, rather than this being man-made in the way that man created the windmill. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is a lot of people kept saying, why, if there's no time, is there no wind? Because water flows. I do kind of see the point in that. When I say that there's no time, I mean that the sun doesn't move. And when I say the sun doesn't move, I mean that the earth doesn't rotate around it, because that would be the progressing of time, that we're just kind of stuck in here. I guess it could just be that we're somewhere where the earth doesn't move, but time still exists. I mean, there are timers in the game. It's just I keep arguing against weather, and that's why I keep saying there must not be wind. And I was also trying to argue that nothing erodes. That was part of the argument of the sign that was crooked must have been physically tampered with, not just wear and tear over time. But I've also made lots of comments about wear and tear of the laser boxes have some clear wear and tear in terms of the rust on top of it. Thus, there's probably a chance that we're not the first person to go through these trials of these panels. So there's a lot of things I say that contradict themselves, and that's what happens when you do a series of 40 explanation videos. It's just you're going to say some stuff that contradicts each other. But whenever I say that there's no time, I'm talking specifically about the fact that the sun doesn't move, that the sun has to stay in one location to make everything work. I should let that concept go. So I think I shall.
Maybe that's just where it clicks. I'll have to compare the sounds to see if they're the same.
Editor Noah here, and we're going to compare sounds now. So enjoy the first sound and the second sound of the windmill played back to back. They sound pretty much exactly the same to me. I don't know what I'm saying of there being a satisfying chunk, and sometimes there isn't. I know sound is based on proximity in this game, so it's quite possible that I'm just standing somewhere else or standing a different way, and it's making it so that it doesn't sound exactly the same to me. Or maybe I'm just kind of hoping I'm tainted with my own preconceptions of what I want it to sound like. But listening to them back to back, they sound pretty much the same. I think the biggest way to solve this would be if we can get the assets to the game. I don't know if anyone has access to this, and see if there's more than one sound for the windmill. It would be just as simple as that. If there's only one, then there's your answer. If there's two, well, then there's your answer that raises more questions. But in both of these, they sound pretty much identical, and the broken propeller is in different positions. The broken propeller in the first one is in the bottom right. It's in the upper left in the second one. So they're two different stopping positions, but it seems to be making the same noise, that good chunk. And also, my PlayStation 4 is very loud and too close to the microphone. So I should probably move where my camera is.
Because it definitely, that was more I don't know, it felt like a different sound. So yeah, I've heard people think that this is like a combination lock of some sort. But I don't know. We're going to have to play with this windmill a lot to really, truly understand it. But I promised the town, so let's go do the town. And I will admit we're going to listen to a lot of audio today. If I recall correctly, there are two in here. Yeah, so the town is supposed to be like the final challenge for non-mountain stuff because it combines all of your skills. For example, this, you need to know how to do the monastery because oh, and there's that too. Requires you to look in like this. Or maybe not this window. Okay, pairs, right? Oh, how do I? This isn't pairable. Huh, interesting. Also, the town, for extra brutality, like it doesn't flash what's wrong. Look at that suspicious ass windmill. Also, why does the windmill need power? The whole point of a windmill is that wind, like, makes it work. Of course, I've also argued that there is no wind here because there's no weather here, so maybe I answered my own question. In any case, oh, Tree of Many Faces. Always want to spend some time looking at that. See if there's anything interesting. I don't really see any faces from this perspective.
Looking at the Tree of Many Faces in a bit of a close-up here, I do kind of see a face that's looking down. If you look on the left-hand side of the tree, it's kind of looking down, and there's like a surprised face, and there's actually like some hair like mine off the side. It's a bit long. I don't know. It's too far away, and you'd have to squint anyway. It's really doubtful that this is meant to be a face, but then again, maybe it's a face that you see when you're close up as well. I just always like pointing out the Tree of Many Faces because it's my favorite thing in the game.
Maybe I'm too far away. I'll have editor Noah zoom in on that. Bing, bing, bing. All right, let's listen.
Oh my God. How does it happen in this poor old world? That thou art so great, and yet nobody finds thee. That thou callest so loudly, and nobody hears thee. That thou art so near, and nobody feels thee. That thou givest thyself to everybody, and nobody knows thy name. Men flee from thee, and say they cannot find thee. They turn their backs and say they cannot see thee. They stop their ears and say they cannot hear thee. Hansdank, circa 1520.
Okay, so this seems to have very religious tones there. When it says "Oh my God," it's not an exclamation of being shocked. It's someone actually referring to the Lord. It's very interesting that it ends on. Well, this first off, this area is called the church, so it makes sense that this building would have something like that. It ends on "cannot hear thee" with a bell, which seems oddly connected. And the beginning sounds almost inhuman. It sounds like it's like maybe auto-tuned or the voice track is doubled up. Give this a listen again.
Oh my God.
Right?
How does it happen in this poor old world? That thou art so great, and yet nobody finds thee. That thou callest so loudly, and nobody hears thee. That thou art so near, and nobody feels thee. That thou givest thyself to everybody, and nobody knows thy name. Men flee from thee, and say they cannot find thee. They turn their backs and say they cannot see thee. They stop their ears and say they cannot hear thee. Hansdank, circa 1520.
Notice how I turned my back and saw something else? Like, I literally had to turn my back to this. Ooh. It's also, yeah, interesting that you can see the woman reaching up to the heavens from this perspective. That could weigh into the meaning of it. And I don't know about you, that kind of looks like a chainsaw. I think it's one of the lasers. Yeah, it's one of the lasers because it's bright now. But it looked like a chainsaw. Okay.
I think I'm hitting the nail exactly on the head here about you turn your back to this and you see a large environmental puzzle. A lot of the sound clips are actually clues towards environmental puzzles at their like core. So the idea that this is basically saying turn your back and you'll see one, and the symbolism of that of like I'm approaching you with a legitimate question of like I have salvation right in front of me, why won't you look at it? And you being like, well, I think environmental puzzles are important, so I'm going to turn around, and that makes a lot of sense to me. It could be entirely unintentional, but we've argued that the environmental puzzles themselves are not intentional and they just develop naturally. So this kind of comedic, symbolic moment may have happened accidentally and not intentionally. But I think it's kind of beautiful, and I think it's very well done. I did look into Hans. I didn't find a lot of great information about him. Just, he was a theist, and, he studied the Bible and came up with this quote. I think it also ties in very nicely with some of the things we were saying earlier about being blinded by your own preconceived notions. Like, he's saying here, why can't you, or why do people just like turn away from something that's clearly right here? Like, you can hear God, you can see God, you can feel him. Why are you turning away? And the idea that he is too confused to even possibly think of another reason why someone might turn away from this. Like, I don't know, science, something like that. The idea that his confusion comes from his own preconception of thinking that accepting God is obvious and clear, and that they are just choosing to not pay attention to it for some unexplainable reason, rather than actually understanding the reasons for other people having other perspectives. I think it's very nice for all the stuff that has been said earlier about the preconceived notions. Again, that could be coincidence of just things I decided to talk about in this episode, but I think it's a nice bow, so we'll put a nice little bow on this. The other thing I do want to say is that his words are very close to the song Day by Day from the Godspell musical. To see thee more clearly, love thee more dearly, follow thee more nearly day by day. I just like the parallels between those quotes and this quote, where here Hans is kind of saying, like, why don't people do this? And then in Godspell, it's, I will do this more. So I find these repeated phrases of seeing and hearing and being close through different media very interesting when it comes to discussion of God. And that's the end.
Again, enough screwing about. I've solved nothing but I solved a few environmental puzzles, but that's it. All right. Clearly, I don't know how to do this one. So there's something I'm supposed to see through to make this work. What am I hearing? It's like a mix of rushing water and moaning. Is the river right here? Yeah, there's the river. Or, yeah, because this is where the river meets the lake. That looks like it totally should be an environmental puzzle, right? Yeah, there's like a weird whooshing sound as well there. That is so strange. Town's no joke. Town is a weird, weird place. Okay, I think this is a puzzle I can actually do. Or not. God, I'm so bad at these. Okay, so for this one,
Gonna be real. This is gonna be a struggle bus situation here. I spend a lot of time not fully understanding this panel, and I apologize. I'm gonna leave it in just in case you see something that I don't. And I'm not talking about like the solution to the puzzle, because I get it eventually. Just something going on, or something that I say, or something that is heard that I'm not paying attention to that you think might be important. I don't like cutting chunks out of my Let's Plays when it comes to this game, because any small detail might be something by the way we're analyzing this. But you don't have to. If you want to skip to the end where the takeaways are, do so now.
we got to break these up into teams like that. Yeah, it doesn't tell me that I didn't do. Yeah, it's not giving me the notifications. Okay, so if I did, I'm just looking at these pieces. That would be one, right? But I could also rotate it, so it could also be like this. So that would be correct. And then if I wanted to include like those four, that would be correct. But then how do I do the last one? I mean, like, this would be almost correct. That would be four of them together in a way. Whew. I was so pumped for the town, and the town is just turning me away. Because, like, that's one, and then I rotate the other thing, and it goes like that. And then I can put another one next to it. Go like that. Or, technically, I could do this and this. And that would be four of them. And then I would just need to figure out the fifth one. So I could technically, this would be correct with boom, 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 boom. That is correct for the shapes. It's not correct for the suns. Four. I'm trying to see it. No, that doesn't work. Right, I'm trying to see it the other way. I'm trying to see it the other way, which is this. That would be correct as well for the shapes. It's just not helpful to be correct that way, though. Also, I could do it like this. That would also be correct for the shapes. Just trying to think, just trying to see it. That's incorrect. That's correct with the shapes right now. Is there a way I can separate these more? I mean, if I wanted to. No, all right, so that's, I'm gonna have to stack them a different way. Like, if I did this, that's correct for 2 shapes, right? That would be correct for 2 of the shapes. So I'd have to add 3 more to this somehow. And I could do that by, like, doing this. That's correct for the shapes. Not correct for the suns, though. See, it would be great if I could do this. There, like, boom, there's one. But then the next one would have to start here. Or it could be like this. And then, yeah, it's not including those, so. I'm trying to extend them down as far as possible. So like there's one. Now let's pretend we're connecting another one to this. So there's 2, but that's not helpful. I could sync them in together. So like, that would be 3 shapes right there. That doesn't work because I can't include a 3rd one of them that way. I mean, I guess, like, that would be 3. That would be correct. But it doesn't help me with the sun situation. Like, that's why I think it has to start like this. So I can get 2. Well, I could link them like this here. And then have it come down here. No, that doesn't work. All right. Let me walk away from this.
Let's talk about takeaways. These are the takeaways for this episode. There's a lot of them, so let's get through them as quickly as possible. The sun dims. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think we all have an idea of a gameplay reason why that might happen. But is it the idea of focus? And I'm kind of playing with the idea of, you know, when you get hit in the head in a video game and everything goes whee? I'm wondering if it's trying to get a similar effect of, like, when you focus on something to do an environmental puzzle, it kind of blocks out all other distractions. Is that something that's trying to be accomplished here, or is it simply just for gameplay mechanics? Let me know in the comments down below. Sorry about the game being out of order. Just want to apologize for that again. I didn't, but be happy that I found this footage so you could get this episode. The heart and the castle. The top of the heart looks like a castle, which it does in a lot of drawings. I've looked up drawings of the heart, but do you think this is meant to tie into Braid at all? It's an extreme theory, but I'm looking for an excuse to play Braid. Should I play Braid? Let me know if I should play Braid. Then we got the crazy eye creature that just, it doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the drawings. I didn't say this in the earlier cutaway, but it reminded me of Bird Box, where the guy takes out all the pictures of all the scary things. There's something that looks like this from Bird Box. Other than that, I don't quite understand what could be here with an eye and tentacles. Does it represent an idea? I don't know why I'm so excited about that pun, but I like the idea of being infected with an idea. The reflection in the windmill of whatever it could be. I think it's the top of the windmill and player Noah doesn't know what he's talking about, but maybe you see something that I don't. What do you think that reflection's about? Let me know. Also, we talked about the stripes in the windmill. Thank you so much for those comments. Comparing the sounds of the windmill. Do they sound different to you, or is it just me being pessimistic, like, nah, they're just the same? Let me know what your thoughts on that are. And then we have the quote from Hans Denker. Let me know your thoughts on that quote and any meaning that you can derive from that. Is it the blindness of someone who's involved in Christianity and unable to understand why someone could not accept Christianity as the one true faith? Or is it a hint to turn around so you see an environmental puzzle? Let me know. That's going to do it for this episode of Solving the Witness. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe right here to Plus 2 Comedy Gaming so you can get a notification next time we go live. And also thanks to all of the people who are now following me on Reddit. That's another way to get a notification of when I'm making these, because I always post it in the Witness subreddit. So you know what? Shout outs to R the Witness, a fantastic place with people who have a lot of amazing ideas. I'm scouring through the forums for ideas all the time there. So thank you to that community. They're a wonderful group of folks. Hi, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time we try to solve the witness.